So I had to essentially download all my links, which didn't take too long, but I had to make sure that I had all of the information. You can do that with Ahrefs as well, but I used Search Console because it made more sense if Google's telling me that these ones are incorrect or potentially, then go to the source and find out. So download that information. I just basically put a checklist. The checklist was as simple as if it's related to pets, it probably can stay as long as it's not super spammy, which it usually wasn't. If it's not related to pets, then what's the link between the page? Is it just someone that really likes cats and they want to link it from their blog personally? That's fine. But is it like a random Russian site, which actually there were a few, I had nothing to do with pets, and it was like gambling, and it was like a really low domain, like ranking, then there's no point me keeping it there because there's no link, nothing positive about that particular link, and there was like maybe 10%, 15% of links that just were very odd. It didn't really make much sense, so I just removed them all.
Okay. And then did you see any impact from that in the short term? Of course, you're doing several things at once, so we can't attribute any
Yeah,
one thing. But
yeah.
when you remove the links, did you see anything specific?
Well, what I wanted to see was that page that dropped heavily go up, but unfortunately it didn't. But what did happen is the pages that were dropping stopped dropping, and they just kind of steadied a little bit. And that was good enough for me because I had about two or three like top money pages, and they had definitely taken effect. But as I started to do a few of these different cleanups, specifically with the disavow as well, because like I said, I thought there was some pretty odd links in there. You could just see them just steadying themselves, and I was like, okay, month on month, this is good because I can build on that.
Okay. Very good. And any other details with either disavowing or like reviewing the old links that you bought the site with?
Yeah, one thing I would say is easy to just say, okay, yeah, that one doesn't make sense. Let's just delete that one. But I tried to keep it extremely strict. And if it was like a really spammy looking link, go into them, check them if they've got nothing to do with your area. Plus, they look really, really odd themselves. They've got like a really bad track record. If you tap them back into Hrefs and you notice they've got no traffic and stuff, then chances are, and they've also just been created recently, chances are they've got no use to you. But I tried not to take too many out. I think I can't remember how many referring domains there were. Maybe there was like 80 or 90. I took away about 10 or 12. So it wasn't like a ton, but it was necessary.
Okay. And yeah, just to emphasize that, you can screw up majorly by
Yeah.
disavowing links that you think are bad but are actually helping your site. The good part is you can go and change your disavow file, but it's kind of an advanced thing. It's simple in concept, but it's an advanced thing that you should tread lightly on. Like you said, be more
Yeah.
conservative and then trim a little bit, and then you could always trim a little bit more, and that's a better approach than getting rid of everything. All right.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
okay. And just to re-emphasize, right? So you're doing these advanced things, you've gone deep
Mm.
into the content side. You basically didn't know how to do any of this stuff ahead of time, right?
Yeah, sorry. So if the site had gone like fantastically well and it didn't drop and plummet in the SERPs, I wouldn't even of researched these things. Once the site was started to do bad, I had to kind of research, okay, why is it doing this? And in the research, I realized, okay, maybe it's the links, or maybe it's the content, or maybe on-site isn't fantastic, or maybe you need to add more backlinks in general. So it was, like I said, it was kind of a blessing in disguise that I had done. What was good about it, in a sense, is it happened right at the beginning. So I was thrown into the deep end, and it was kind of sink or swim. It was like, okay, you can either just leave it and I guess just be upset and say this doesn't work, kick your feet and move on, or you can see it as a learning process, which made sense at the time because I was kind of all in. I didn't want to lose my money, and I knew this thing kind of worked. So I just pull my socks up, so to speak, and just done the research essentially, figured out what it was.
So speaking of backlinks,
Yeah.
you told me that you have been doing really well with like guest posting and other sort of link placement. So take us through
Yeah.
your approach, and actually before you even tell us the approach, what
Mhm.
results were you able to get in terms of the number of backlinks?
Yeah, so I went all in backlinks for about 3 to 4 months. Previous Before that, I didn't really spend much time in backlinks. Wasn't because I didn't think that they were worthwhile, just because I didn't have the time. And if I'm being honest, backlinks are kind of scary. You don't know what you're doing. It can be difficult to like figure out what's a good backlink, what's a bad one, how do you get them right. So I kind of left that on my to-do list, and it got to a point where I'd finished everything on my to-do list, and the next thing was backlinks, and I was kind of like, "Ah, I don't want to do this." But anyway, so yeah, I figured out that it needed to be done, and I guess from that point onwards, I just done more research and tried to figure out, okay, what specifically, how for my time, what is going to be the best use of it? Is it going to be doing manual outreach? Is it going to be paying for someone to kind of come in and do it for me? Is it going to be doing the skyscraper shotgun approach? It was daunting because you read all this information. There's all these different kind of ways to do it. Everyone's got a stance on it. PBNs are bad. This is good, and it was difficult to ascertain what should I do to build links to this website. So yeah, tons of information, and I had to just kind of filter through and figure out what would work for the site.
Okay. And you arrived at doing some outreach and guest posting. So how'd you set that up?
Yeah, so initially I started out sending emails one website at a time, and very quickly realized that was like the bad approach to take. But I had no choice because I was just kind of testing stuff. So I would send an email to a company that I thought might be correct, hit their support page, and send an email. Results were obviously very bad because no one gets back to you. And after a few days, I realized it's not going to kind of work. So I thought, okay, how can I automate this process? The way to automate it essentially would be to use a tool, some type of outreach tool, and find a way to grab all this data from Google and stick it into the tool to give you the output of their email address. So initially, I didn't want to spend any money. I tried to keep costs really, really low. So I didn't use an outreach tool. I just grabbed all of the different domains and just kind of went to each one and would find like some type of support address or something like that. But again, quickly you realize it's by not kind of investing back into your business, it definitely makes a difference because you're basically shooting yourself in the foot because if you don't have more email addresses and you're not sending out enough emails, you're not going to get enough links. So yeah, it was kind of that was the mindset I was taking. Bigger the data, the better the outreach process. Realistically, the easier you should be able to obtain links.
And I can't remember if you mentioned it, but you got about 75 links over that 12-week period. Is that about right?
Yeah, it's about right.
75. Okay, that's great. And for the, people that haven't hired a service, I mean, that is many thousands of dollars worth of links, even at the lowest sort of like domain ratings and that sort of thing. Do you happen to
Yeah,
remember the domain rating on average of those backlinks, or
yeah,
what kind of results were you seeing in terms of authority?
yeah. So initially, the site was about the pet site was probably about 12 or 13 DR or like DA. So it was on the low side. And when I started the outreach process, most people or websites above like 30 didn't really get back to me or they just say they're not interested. So it took a little while. The first few weeks were probably 20 DR and under. You get like a few people that might be interested. Maybe you've got like a good angle and they just enjoy the cat page, for example, and they've got a good website. So you like at 40 or 50. But yeah, what happened was it would start off really low with those that were interested in terms of the DR. And then as time passed, you'd get people like 50 and 60 DR that were interested. And before they wasn't interested at all, they wouldn't get back to you. So clearly, as the site started to increase, my I guess the weight in my outreach started to increase because people were saying yes. It's not yes, sorry. They were saying maybe instead of no.